Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Ingram Jones, as you know, and welcome to another live show of Bayloric TV Boxing. Instead of doing just a prediction video, which I've done before, I wanted to do my final thoughts on both Andre Ward versus Paul Smith and Adrian Broner versus Sean Porter. So these are two fights I want to look at. Of course, you've got the fight with Nadam and Lemieux, which definitely can't be overlooked as well. Yep, just mind me a second. I always have to do that so I don't end up talking over myself. So we're here now. Okay, first of all, let's address Paul Smith's challenge or his fight against Andre Ward. Now, before I get down to the prediction or the preview of the actual fight, I want to talk a little bit about Paul Smith. If you think about back in the day with Paul Smith, when he was in the Contender, that's when I first started watching Paul Smith as a boxer. And he had that rivalry with that guy Banks. I thought Smith did well himself inside the Contender series. And then, you know, he fought. I followed his career when he was boxing as a middleweight. And I thought, you know, one day it'd be good to see Paul Smith in the big fights. Good to see how he does against the top fighters in the world. He was British title champion for a while. He fought James DeGale. And DeGale, you know, totally outclassed him. You know, I thought was a bad fight for Smith. DeGale, a mover, Olympic champion, and Smith does what he does with the abilities that he's got. And then I thought he stood a really good chance against George Groves the night he fought Groves. And in the first round, caught Groves with a pretty solid shot. And in the first round, and people forget that, and in the second round got chinned by Groves. Then he had the two fights against Arthur Abraham, which I thought, in my mind, he would give Arthur Abraham a good fight because one of two reasons. One, Arthur not being a big super middleweight, and two, Abraham work rate and the way he puts his hands up, sort of style that he has. I felt that Smith would could be successful against that sort of opponent. And in the first fight, he looked pretty good in the first fight. I guess second time round, Arthur Abraham had a better idea of what he was facing in in Paul Smith, and you saw what happened. The golfing class is there. See, Smith for me fought a little too long at British level. That's my personal opinion. I think he fought a little too long at British level. Fights against Tony Dodson and you know, what's his name again? Jason Quigley as well, something like that. Those fights at British level, he fought too many of them. Of course, he wanted to get the British title outright, which is fair enough. But I thought he fought a little too long at British level. I would like to see him fight a European level and win a European title, and then maybe go on track onto world level. But for Paul Smith, it seems like he just like was British champion and fight at a British level, and then boom, got the fight with Abraham. And I just kind of thought, well, you did end up graduation with him, with Smith. So, you know, and I can't lie to you. I can't say to you, well, no, I don't like Paul Smith. I liked Paul Smith back in the day. You know, he's going for contending. The thing with Smith, when he was middleweight, he was always complaining about, well, he didn't put on a good performance. He had Buddy McGirt in his corner. So, you know, he had the American influence around him, Smith. You know, so he had a respected training. Buddy McGirt's no mug, but I guess that didn't really work well. He kind of then went with Joe Gallagher in a very successful gym back at home. So, you know, but let's make no bones about it. He's now fighting Andre Ward. I'm not one of these guys that say, "Ooh, why is Smith fighting him?" It was obvious why Smith is fighting. Ward is fighting Smith. Ward has been out of the ring for what, 2 years? So he wants a comeback fight. Okay. Now let's clear something else up. Ward is the WBA Super Champion. Carthroch was the regular champion. So to be recognised, they say that I think the regular champion has to fight the super champion, so to be one belt. That's, I believe, how it works. So, for example, Keith Thurman, regular WBA champion, would have had to fight Floyd Mayweather, super champion. So there's one legit belt for that. That's how I understand it works. How the interim works, I guess the interim fights are next when the champion comes back, I guess, something like that. But anyway, so Andre Ward, we know what he's done. We know where he's been. We know what he's achieved. The Super 6 tournament, fought the who's who, the super middleweight division, blah, 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 blah. Been out for a while, having disputes with Goosens. Now he's signed with Jay-Z and Rock Nation. So that's really good news for boxing fans because Ward is back, or Dre is back. So that's great news. Okay, so people saying, why is he fighting him? Why is he fighting Smith? Well, okay, well, Smith is a super middleweight. The last time I checked, I think he was British super middleweight champion. So, okay, British super middleweight champion. He's fought 2 fights against Arthur Abraham. Okay. Also has fought George Groves and James DeGale. So, okay, in the British super middleweight division, you can't get Carthroch because Froch can't decide whether he's going to fight GGG or he's going to fight King Kong or he's going to retire. Okay, at Wembley. So there's that. Then you've got James DeGale, who's just come off winning the IBF Super Middleweight Championship of the World against Durrell. Then you've got George Groves, who's now on the verge of going to fight, on the verge of fighting Badou Jack. So that's 3 in the middleweights out there. You've got Rocky Fielding, who's going to be fighting Brian Vera. You've got Callum Smith, who's in a big fight coming up soon. So really and truly, Paul Smith was the obvious choice. Arthur Abraham's got a big fight coming up soon as well. So let's keep going down the super middleweight. So Paul Smith is available. People know who Paul Smith is. He's well known on Sky Sports TV for his punditry. He's known for his fight against Arthur Abraham. He's known for his fight against James DeGale. He's known for his fight against George Groves. Groves, DeGale, Abraham are all in big fights coming up soon. All well-known fighters in the super middleweight division. So why not fight Paul Smith? For promotions, it's great as well. But again, you know, he's come to Rock Nation now. He wants to build his profile now because let's be honest, Dre is a fantastic fighter. As a personality, I'm not too sure. And, you know, it was great to listen to Andre Ward when he was talking to Carl Froch at the face-off. I found that very fascinating because Ward had studied Froch so well. And it gives you an insight into what the man's really like. First of all, this thing about Son of God, I don't know where the name came from. I don't think it does him any favors. I think it's on him like that. I don't know why he's got the title, but I guess that's what he's entitled to have that title, and that's great. As a boxer, he's a phenomenal fighter. I think can fight going forwards, can fight going backwards, lateral movement, good inside fighter, great inside fighter, good on the outside, good at adjusting distance, timing, intellectual fighter as well, thinking fighter. Fights different styles. You're not going to get the same Andre Ward in every fight. Where he fought Michael Kessler one way, he fought Carl Froch the other way. Let's look at this. Before Froch fought Ward, who I believed Ward was going to beat Froch, I never knew, and nobody knew up to the fight when Froch, because Froch was unbeaten until he fought Kessler, remember? So when Kessler beat Froch, Ward deducted, and he'd never been in the ring around Carl Froch. He worked out in his brain that, you know what, I'm going to go get inside of Carl Froch and I'm going to sit on his chest and I'm going to fight him on his chest. Ward not only fought him on the inside, bullied him on the inside and pushed Froch back and wasn't allowing Froch to use the long arms and range to throw shots. Now, going down the stretch in that fight, Ward seemed to tire, and that's where Froch, as we know, comes on strong. It's interesting because was even then an issue with Ward coming down to 168? Was he struggling at the weight? And, you know, we know, for a good example, I'm not comparing Tony Bellew to Andre Ward, so don't mistake what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that when Bellew fought cleverly the first fight, if you look down the stretch, you can see he drastically started to tire. And you saw the same thing with Ward. Ward started to tire down the stretch against Froch. So whether he is tight at super middleweight and now coming back at light heavyweight, because let's be honest, what is there left for him to do at super middleweight? Yeah, he could fight George Groves. Yes, he could fight James DeGale. They're big matchups. So maybe Ward is just testing himself back at catch weight to see whether he could fight at light heavyweight or not against a guy in Paul Smith who's not noted as a big puncher at middleweight, wasn't a big puncher at super middleweight, and certainly not sure he'd be a big puncher at light heavyweight. So here's a few things we can look at and deduct from it. Okay, Smith fought super middleweight. The one thing we know is that Smith has got a good body punch. He throws good shots to the body. If there's any weakness to Andre Ward to the body, that may have been it. However, now he's at light heavyweight and having to drag his body down, that may not be an issue anymore. So, you know, Smith can punch to a point, but he's not a world-class puncher. He doesn't knock world-class fighters out. So if he were to do this against Andre Ward, it would be it would be extreme big upset. Now, let's look at this fight now. Smith and what's this guy's name? Porter have both got something in common tonight. And do you know what it is? They're both doing something they haven't done as a pro. Smith fighting as heavy as 174 pounds. That's a light heavy. Smith has never fought as a light heavyweight. And then you've got Porter fighting 144 pounds. And he hasn't fought as 144 pounds since the amateur days. So I'm going to break down both fights. But let's get on to Ward versus Smith. This is the first fight I'm previewing. So for me, there are automatic issues here. We know Smith can't box from long range against Ward. Ward's technically a better boxer. Smith, if he tries to get on the inside, will probably get, and he brings the fight to Ward, he's probably going to get counterpunched. Any way Smith looks at this, he's gonna have to fight. He can't outbox Ward. Forget it. Doesn't happen. Not gonna happen. He doesn't have I don't think he's got the boxing skills to do that. Okay. And for those people who say, Paul Smith doesn't deserve to be fighting Andre Ward, well, you know, I think Ward's been out for 2 years. We don't know what Ward's got now. If he's got the skill level that which I undoubtedly think he still has, then people would say on skill level alone, Smith and Ward shouldn't be in the same ring together. Okay, fine. But then there are very few fighters in the world who should be in a ring with Andre Ward if you want to go down the basis of that. So I'm not going down the basis of that. I think Smith fully does deserve to be fighting Andre Ward based on the fact that he's British champion and there was nobody else available at the time in terms of the ranking system from the Brits side of things. I think it's a good fight, personally. I think, having listened to Paul Smith on a number of occasions, I think he's going to have to he's going to try and jump on Andre Ward and think with ring rust and inactivity and hope to catch Ward off guard, bum rush Ward, put it on him early. That is, and coming in heavier than Ward. Maybe he feels some way of shape that he's going to be able to out-bully Ward by being heavier. Yeah, you're going to be heavier, correct. For that moment, you're going to be heavier. But let me explain something to you here. Andre Ward is a natural light heavyweight. Paul Smith is, at best, the super middleweight, pushing it because he's a small super middleweight. You know, if you look at Smith compared to DeGale, and you look at Smith compared to Groves, these are big guys. You look at, you know, I think Groves could easily make light heavyweight pushing cruiser, and same with DeGale. So there's two really big super middleweights pulling themselves down from probably light heavy or cruiser down to fight a super middleweight. Where you've got Paul Smith, who's pulling himself down probably from, you know, I don't know. I think he's just at best a super middleweight. To be honest, his best weight is between middle and super middle. That's what I think. So you've got a situation right here. I'm going to pause for a second because I see we've got viewers in now and see if there's anybody who's got anything to say. Aha, here we go. Here we go. Big Ola Ingram, my guy, Samuel Bailey. How you doing, Samuel? How you doing, Big Ola? Ward, what is Ward not good at? It's true. What is he not good at? Samuel Bailey, what do you think about Smith looking all fat and bloated? Oh, what did I think? I think Smith being, I don't know, psychological games, but if he's not in shape, he's in trouble. He's in trouble anyway. But if he's not in shape, he's in more trouble. Big Ola says, hello, Smith is a fat shit. I hope he gets a shit beaten out of him for not even caring. Smith versus Bellew next. I'll ringtone boxing. Talking all this shit about how he wants to fight the best when he can't even go for a run. Sammy Bailey laughs. £176. Ward has not fought in 90 months. I know he hasn't fought in 90 months, but I'm sure he hasn't allowed his body to get out of shape, Mr. Godwin. What is your point, Mr. I'm going to call him Mr. Godwin. He says it'll be interesting to see how timeout has affected him. Smith is only a middleweight at best. Yes, what I think. I've said that. Ward is a natural light heavyweight. Of course he is. Smith is a fat super middle. So yeah, the common consensus is Smith doesn't belong in the ring with Andre Ward. We were talking about the whole light heavyweight discussion. He doesn't belong in there. And you know, Smith versus Bellew, well, then Smith would have to go up to cruiserweight. I don't think anyone wants to see that, really. What's the percentage of Smith, KO, and Ward? Aaron Sidhu, what's the percentage? Percentage. The percentage is that Miguel Cotto will sidestep Canelo and agree to fight GGG in his next fight. That's the percentage. Smith knocking Ward out, right? Whereas Smith, why do I think that? Because, well, okay, who at middleweight of world class has Smith knocked out? Who at super middleweight has Smith knocked out of world class? And you're going to go at light heavyweight. Let's take some other things into consideration. Smith has never fought a light heavyweight. So he's going to be, if you're going to fight a light heavyweight and you've never had, you know, that's why you have these testing fights. No, I haven't. I'm going to do the Broner Ward thing after, Broner Porter thing next, straight here as well. I would say that Smith has never knocked anybody out at middleweight, super middleweight, and he's going to come and fight a defensive wizard in Ward, a light heavy. Listen, the other thing is, when you have fights at light heavyweight and you've moved up in weight, usually you have that sort of fight where you kind of test the waters to find out what you feel at a light heavyweight. He cleverly did it. He had 2 fights from against super middleweights when he was fighting again when he was moved into the cruiserweight division. You know, so you just test to see how your body's like. Smith is going to have no clue how his body's going to respond on the night. I suspect Smith will be much slower on the night. So he'll be much slower in terms of his punches will come out slower. And even if it's a tad slower, Ward will be there to counter that. The other thing is his reactions will be slower. So where normally he had to pull himself out of the way to get his chin out of the way of a shot, even his chin might be there just a little longer. And if you bear in mind what DeGale did to Smith, if you bear in mind what Groves did to Smith, those 2 guys, we know Groves is a big puncher. We know that DeGale is a good boxer. And both guys basically took Smith out. All right. So if you take that in mind, and then he fought Arthur Abraham, a better version of Smith, who I backed to beat Arthur Abraham in the first fight. I thought he could beat him in the first fight. I really did, because I thought that Smith would have caught Arthur Abraham by surprise, and I thought he would have nicked it on points. I really did. I really did. And the body shots were hurting Arthur Abraham. Now you look at a different situation. You're fighting Andre Ward, who's fought the best of the best that's around. Yes, he's been out for a long period of time, but Andre Ward, I don't imagine, has been going down to McDonald's and Burger King and stuffing his face silly. Dre would have kept himself in good shape, would have been in the gym, maybe ticking over, working on a few new things. And the other thing a lot of people might not have brought or paid mind to is that Ward is a very frustrated fighter. And unfortunately for Paul Smith, he's the first guy that he's facing. So I expect to see an explosive performance from Andre Ward. Explosive for a number of reasons. Explosive because of the frustration. Explosive because of the fact that Smith has been talking that Ward is open. The only person I see being open in this fight is going to be Paul Smith, because Smith is talking about, and I don't know, you see that weight he came in at? Was he wearing, did he have some stones in his pocket? I don't know. I didn't get to look at the video properly. Does he have stones in his pocket? Because that's all that stuff is psychological, you know. All that stuff is psychological. But I just think at the end of the day, when it comes to someone like Smith, I think, for me, you need your speed, you need your movement, you need all the speed and movement you can get in a fight against Andre Ward. He won't have that. So you're going to be looking at Paul Smith, not even an optimum Paul Smith, and he has to be at his optimum best to even stand a chance in this fight. So he's not even going to be at his optimum best fight in a light heavyweight, because he's at a division nobody knows how he fights at. So this fight could end pretty easy. So I would go with Ward for the KO. Ward to KO Smith inside 6. I think Smith will take between 6 and 8. Smith will try and take the fight to Ward. I think he's going to try and take the fight to Ward. I think he's going to try and push Ward against the ropes. I think he's going to try and bully Ward. But here's my point here, and I think this is where we enter world class. Smith's tactics should have been to keep Arthur Abraham against the ropes, work his body, and don't give Arthur Abraham room to breathe. He couldn't do that at super middleweight, and he was fighting for a bloody world title. So if you can't do it at super middleweight for a bloody world title against a guy that keeps his hands up like this, and you're getting outboxed by Arthur Abraham, what the hell chance you stand against Andre Ward, who can box, who can slug, who can move? Okay, and he's probably going to be in better condition as a light heavyweight than he ever did as a super middleweight, bearing in mind that Ward is naturally a light heavyweight. So for me, speed, strength, power, movement, balls and heart is what Smith's going to be bringing. The British Bulldog spirit. That is what I believe Smith brings into this fight, and he'll make it entertaining. He'll take the fight to Ward. But don't be surprised when Smith decides to try and take it to Ward. Ward stands in the center of the ring and brings it straight back at Smith. And when he starts bringing the fire back at Smith, counter punching Smith and landing his own bombs on Smith, that's where the trouble's going to start. Right there. Smith comes forward. I see coming forward, tries to take the fight to Ward, and Ward meets Smith center ground, center of the ring, and then starts to push Smith back, being the physically bigger and stronger man naturally. Those are my thoughts. I'm looking to see Ward stop Paul Smith, and in an explosive fight. I say explosive because, you know, Ward has something to prove. Is he still the same fighter? You know, all the time out of the ring. I believe he's a better fighter now because he's in the light heavyweight division. I believe that Smith will try, but you know, it's a middleweight, a fat middleweight going up against a true athlete, proper athlete, and that's no disrespect to Paul Smith, but he's in the weight category. Has he been away too long? Come on, man. Come on, man. Who would win between Amir Khan and Kell Brook? Don't know. Don't particularly care at this minute in time because we're here talking about Andre Ward and Paul Smith. And now Khan or Brooke. Let's see if they even get in the ring together. The next point I'm going to talk about is Sean Porter. Unless anybody else has got any more points on this Smith Ward thing, I think Smith's going to look pretty good. Personally, I think Ward's going to look very good. I really do. So, right, let's move on. Now we're going to talk about Broner versus Porter. I'll be honest, I would love to see Sean Porter win this fight. I really would. But there are a few technical problems here. I don't know if anyone saw the sparring between Broner and Sean Porter. Sean Porter spends a lot of time on the outside, jumping around. And his father, Kenny Porter, has been trying to make Sean do less of this jumping around and keep the pressure on Broner. I think when you're fighting 144 pounds, you're a welterweight, you're a natural welterweight, and you're not even a natural welterweight. You've boiled your body down to welterweight, right? And you're now fighting at 144 pounds, and you haven't fought at 144 pounds since you were an amateur. There's a problem right there. Now, I don't think Adrian Broner has got world-class work rate. I don't think that Adrian Broner could ever beat Marcus Maidana. I just don't, because you've got a guy there that's constantly putting pressure on you, is heavy-handed, and if they fought again at welterweight, I put Maidana again beating Adrian Broner. I just don't think, and that's why I think Broner's trying to drain Porter down, because he knows at welterweight, should Porter land, there's problems. I don't think Broner is a great fighter at all. I really don't. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a talented fighter. I think he lacks discipline in a lot of areas, and he still continues to be disrespectful. Now, when you know nothing, right? Well, if you don't like what I'm saying, my friend, disappear. Right, actually. So I can see you're going to be a problem. Already. Right. So when you think about that, and you think about the fight he had against Marcus Maidana, people will think about the Marcus Maidana fight and look and see Porter as somebody who's quite similar, who's very busy, he's got very active work rate. He has, but has he got that work rate at the lower weight division when he's being drained at 144 pounds? Can he still do those things as a welterweight now being drained? That's my problem. That's my problem with this fight, because you're trying to do something at 144 pounds you haven't done since an amateur. And I'm sure word goes around the street, word goes around boxing gyms, that Porter probably kills himself to make welterweight. So if you're killing yourself to make welterweight, if you're killing yourself to make welterweight, you say that Porter didn't look drained at all. I can see him being too strong in this one. I know you say that. Looking is one thing, but you've got to also consider punch resistance. One of Porter's key factors about him, hi Sarah, one of Porter's key factors and the things that make Porter so good, although he looks good, it's like it's like a Ferrari with the engine taken out. A Ferrari always looks good. A Ferrari always looks good. But when you drain a guy of their weight, they're not the same fighter. Hi, Stuart. They're not the same fighter. And I don't believe you fought all your career at welterweight or even higher than welterweight. And you are now going to move yourself down to 144 pounds. I don't know how many fights Porter's had. I don't believe you can be just as effective at, you know, from a welterweight going down to 144 pounds. Because what happens is you're losing water off the brain already as you come down, and you're being weight drained. If there wasn't that much of an effect and that wasn't much of a problem, then Paul Broner's team would have said, let's take the fight at welterweight. They know that Porter's killing himself to make the weight. You can look great on the scales. I don't subscribe to it. And if Porter's to win this fight, he's got to do it early, because the later this fight goes, I see Porter slowing down and Adrian Broner getting on top and taking control of the fight. So it's a very interesting fight. But because Porter has been drained, I have to go with Adrian Broner in this fight. I really do. I'm not a Broner fan. I really am not. How are we doing, Stuart? Are you good? I'm not a Broner fan. I'm absolutely not a Adrian Broner fan. But I'm not a fan of the man's character. But having seen the two spar before, Porter's best weapons, if you take into consideration, he's not a boxer, he's a brawler. He's a bull in a china shop. He just comes charging at you. He's not a boxer. Let's get this correct. So his best attributes are physical strength and a good chin and a constant work rate. So that's a welterweight division. So from a welterweight division, moving right down to a light welterweight, or just under, you know, just under that. I think that at the end of the day, the image we've got of Porter as a welterweight fighting Kell Brook is not the image we're going to be getting Saturday night. And that's the problem with catchweight fights. You're not getting the same product. You're not getting the same product. And so with Adrian Broner, you're getting the same product. You'll get Adrian Broner fighting in a weight division that he's comfortable with. Whereas with Sean Porter, you're getting a guy that is sorry guys, you've got a guy that is comfortable in the weight, and you've got a guy that Sean Porter's been drained of his weight. So weight draining, for me, you've got to go with the guy that is, for me, more comfortable at the weight, which is Adrian Broner. And that is the way it goes. If you don't like the channel, Aaron, piss off. So that's the end of him. Sorry, but people like you, I can't stand. You come on the channel, don't know you from Adam, you can start talking rubbish just because I'm not agreeing with you, right? I've broken down what I'm saying in a quite constructive manner. I've given my reasons why. I've given my reasons why I don't like Adrian Broner, because I don't think he does anything positive for the sport. I don't think he does anything positive for the sport. Yeah, and you're 20 years old, so what the hell do you know about the sport of boxing at 20 years old? You know, you've got to look at the history of boxing, look at the fighters that are there. And I think that when you look at Adrian Broner, he's very disrespectful. For young fighters coming up, he's not a role model, okay? He's not the sort of guy that you would look towards. He's very disrespectful. One of the main things you're told in boxing, if you've ever boxed before, Aaron, is that you shake hands with your opponent. No matter if you don't like him, you still shake hands with him. And this is another thing. If you go back and look at tape of Adrian Broner, he turned around and he said that, like, Sean Porter was his idol. Porter's idol, right? Adrian Broner's a good man. Well, if he's a good man, he shakes hands with the opponent. You know, that's not being Adrian. That's not being a sportsman-like. And the fact that you're on this channel and you're actually defending Adrian Broner and his behaviour, then fine, carry on. You go on and say what you've got to say. It doesn't mean I have to respond to you. I know where your mindset's at, so I'm not going to pay any mind to you whatsoever. But yeah, I think at the end of the day that that, you know, I think the weight training is an issue. It's a serious issue. Where are we? Right, we are here. Let's see where we are now. Let's go back to this second. I think. Give me a second, people. I'm just trying to work something out here. I'm trying to get our friend Aaron off the channel because he's been a bit annoying. So, where are we? Let's go back to where we were. More comments below. I think I've blocked him from the channel now. Aaron Pryor versus Adrian Broner. Go with Aaron Pryor, to be honest. Yeah, his rap songs are terrible. All the nonsense. Yeah, he can rap. He can rap a Christmas present. Yeah, sorry, mate. I'm blocking you off my channel, mate. Simple as that. I don't suffer fools, and I don't suffer people that have a disrespectful. You share that same disrespect that Adrian Broner shows, and you bring it on my channel. And I don't deal with trolls nicely, so I got no time for people like yourself. Marcus Music, hello. Ingram, can you see Smith taking Ward rounds, seeing as Ward doesn't really have the one-punch power, and Smith weighing in so high? Sarah, did you forget what Andre Ward did to Dawson? And I also like to remind you as well, Sarah, that Ward was able to put Carl Froch on his back foot on a number of occasions. So Ward isn't a one-punch knockout artist, but it's because he doesn't. I think guys like Ward don't technicians. I think how are we doing, Marcus? I think technicians, they don't focus themselves on putting power because they're not oh dear. They don't oh, Aaron, let me ask you a question. Do you have a problem with fat people? Not that I'm fat, but do you have a problem with fat people? Do you have a problem with fat people? Idiot. Why am I so fat? Lose weight. Anyway, moving on. Where were we? We were talking about Porter and Smith. Not Porter and Smith, Porter and Broner. So I think when you look at someone like Broner and Porter, like I've said before, I think that this fight, I'm going with Broner. I think Broner can stop him, you know. I think Broner can stop him. I really do think Broner can stop him. I do. It's because you just don't know what, when you're doing a catch weight and somebody being drained, you don't know what they can do. So I've got to go with a guy who I feel is going to be stronger at the weight, and I'm going to go with Porter. Broner, sorry, Broner by possibly by stoppage. It's just whether he'll be able to absorb punches and have that same punch resistance. And I think the best of Porter's been stripped away from him to fight Broner. So I'm going with Broner to win this one, honestly. Amy Good says, AB is a disgrace to the sport, wiping his behind with money and flush it down the toilet when people in his world starve and mix with sick. Absolutely. Sarah, Broner can never stop that man. I don't know. I think he can. You're comparing what you're thinking in your mind. You've got, am I a virgin? In my mind, I think that a lot of fight fans are imaging Sean Porter, the fighter that fought at 147 pounds, versus the Sean Porter's fight at 144 pounds. That image right there, of Sean Porter. If Sean Porter was fighting at welterweight, I'd say Sean Porter by KO. But he's not fighting at welterweight. He's fighting 144 pounds. And I think that's going to hurt Sean Porter. I really do. He's a big guy. It's a big guy. So he's going to hurt Sean Porter. He really is. And, you know, it suits Adrian Broner, this fight. I saw Adrian Broner sparring Porter, and he turned southpaw. And that gave Porter nightmares. Go and check out the video on it. Porter would be on Broner's chest all night. I can see Porter's winning points. Yeah, I think that too. But can he sustain that over 12 rounds? Can he sustain that over 12 rounds? That's the question. If Kell Brook couldn't knock out Porter, I can't see how smaller Broner doing it. Yeah, but he's weight drained. That's my point. He's weight drained. It's my wife. Married 4 years. Yeah, Stuart, there's your answer there. So when you look at Broner and the Porter fight with Brook, you're looking at Porter fully fledged, fully ready to go. You now look at him 144 pounds. Is there anything in the contract that says that he cannot fluctuate, he cannot go up to a certain weight or something? Those are my concerns about this fight. Being weight drained, nobody knows how Sean Porter will be being weight drained. That's it. That's my concern about this fight. So at welterweight, of course, at welterweight, it's a great fight. And I pick Porter to stop Broner at welterweight. But lower division, I'm going to give it to Broner. Broner's got all the advantages there. The only way Porter wins this fight, if he's going to win this fight, he wins it early. He wins it inside the distance early by jumping on Broner and catching him early. You know, and I just hope that he's got some strength there to actually put it on him. She was Stuart. She was a former Mrs. Illinois in America. She came third runner-up worldwide in a beauty pageant. So yeah, she done a lot of work with the President of America as well. So she holds her own. She's an amazing woman. So back to my point. So I said I'm going with Porter. Have you got any bets on this? Some tasty odds if you're feeling confident either way. I think if I'm gonna go Porter early, Broner late. Because I don't know down the stretch if Porter's gonna have the same engine as he would as a welterweight. Porter's not weight drained. I know, a drained fighter. He was fine, mate. Yeah, I know. He looked fine on the scales. Nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows for sure that what Porter's going to do. The last time Porter fought anywhere close to 144 pounds was as an amateur. So looking good in this, looking good on the scales. Looking good on the scales is one thing, but you know, like I said, it's like a Ferrari with no engine. Nobody knows for sure how Porter's going to fight on the night. So, okay, so those are my predictions for those fights. So let's talk about some now juicy information. A couple of fights have been announced. Anthony Joshua will be fighting Mariusz Wach on September the 12th. I found this information out yesterday. Mariusz Wach's promoter and management team sent an email or sent a Twitter message across and let me know that this fight is on via one of my Twitter friends. And they brought it to my attention that, of course, this is a good fight. Marius Vac is a very good fighter. I met him and interviewed him, and very good fighter, very talented fighter for the size that he is. IJ, what's your views on Joshua versus Marius Vac? Yeah, I'm coming up to it now. It's a good fight. It's a very good fight. We know that Vac has been in there with Klitschko, went 12 rounds. Klitschko takes a very good shot. Klitschko hit one of his best shots, and he still looked back at Klitschko, was able to hurt the champion. I think also that Vax can punch. He knocked Christian Hammer out cold. He's got a good pedigree, and for a big man, he fights fairly well. Fights pretty good. It's a good fight for Anthony Joshua. This is a guy that's never been stopped. A guy who's ambitious. He fought last night. I don't know what the result was. I think he fought Eric last night, who Joshua stopped in a couple of rounds. So he fought. So Stuart Little says Wacky's getting knocked. I don't know. I think this is an interesting fight. It's a great fight. It's an interesting fight, and yeah, I think it's a very interesting fight. I don't know if he gets knocked. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. We're now going to see what Joshua does against a guy who's the same size or taller than him. And let's remember that it wasn't too long ago that Joshua was knocked out in sparring by David Price. So dimensions, height, power, strength, all these things. You're now fighting a guy you just can't run into and steamroll. You're now having to think about something because the guy who's fighting is going to be throwing punches back. And we don't know what Joshua's got until he gets hit back on the chin. So I'm not, and against Kevin Johnson, the ambition had gone. I mean, Peter Fury, we'd spoken earlier about it, and I said that AJ would stop Johnson. I don't believe AJ stops Vac. There's a big possibility that Vac could cause an upset on the fight. It just depends. It really does. How much ambition Vac's got left, and how good Anthony Joshua is. We don't know, but we're going to find out on this fight for sure. Kingpin was paid to go down easy. Well, you know, let's put it this way. When Fury and Kingpin were in the ring together sparring this last time, I think it was about a minute. Tyson Fury was in there with Kingpin, and well, the sparring session didn't go very well. And Hugh Fury himself was boxing rings around Kevin Johnson, and he admitted in the interview I did with him, Hugh Fury, that Kevin Johnson was nowhere the same man that he was when he first came to work with them in camp. So you're looking at two different situations. I think Johnson at the end of the career basically thought, you know what, I'll give this a go, and if it don't work out, it don't work out. So yeah, it's true. I think he did feel the power and didn't want to know any more about it. But yeah. Right. So they said Kingpin would go 12. I didn't say Kingpin would go 12. I even gave my reasons why Kingpin wouldn't go 12 rounds, Stuart. I said that Kingpin was dropped by Derek Chisora, and because he got dropped by Derek Chisora, for me, those were the warning signs right there that there was problems, and that Johnson's punch resistance and the fact that Joshua would come straight at him throwing punches with a very high work rate. These were the reasons why I believed Joshua would stop Johnson. Whack and dig, so I'm hoping a great fight, and a fight where we can learn a lot more about AJ. Absolutely. This is not a mugs fight. This is a real fight here, a real test. So that's the first bit of information. The next thing coming up is Derek Chisora's comeback against Ustinov. Now, this is more interesting information. Ustinov and Vac was sparring Derek Chisora in the lead up to the first rematch with Tyson Fury. So the same day that Fury, that Chisora got injured, his right hand. I was there when Chisora injured his right hand on the head of Ustinov. So I managed to interview both guys. Now, Ustinov, Ustinov is big, he's strong, clumsy, but he can punch. Now, I watched a sparring session. Literally, I was like on the ring apron watching Derek Chisora sparring Ustinov, and they were not holding back. Because if they were holding back, then that was one heck of a sparring session. There was some serious punches being thrown. Serious punches being thrown at one another. And, you know, there are moments where Ustinov had Chisora on the ropes, literally on the ropes, and Ustinov was teeing off with punches, and then Chisora would literally bounce off those same ropes and then start putting punches, body shots, and headshots to Ustinov. So it was a very good sparring session, absolutely good sparring session, but it was like a brawl in there. Now, there were rumors that Ustinov was knocked out in sparring by Derek Chisora. So it's a very interesting fight. On top of that as well, Derek Chisora turned up recently to Ustinov's press conference. Good old Del Boy. And he turned up with videos of his sparring session with Ustinov, showing how he was he was being dominated by Derek. So I don't know why Derek Chisora did that. Don't know what his point was. They were both wearing headgear. But this is an interesting fight. We need to know how much Derek Chisora wants it as a fighter. We need to know how much he wants to still be in the ring. His fight against Tyson Fury, as I said to Tyson, was very poor. I mean, judging from what I was seeing Chisora do against Ustinov, yes, I know they're different fighters, but the movement, the head movement, the ambition to get in, throw shots was not there against Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury took it away from him. And wear and tear on Derek Chisora is another thing. Derek Chisora, you know, his punch resistance, if we look at after he got knocked out by David Haye, the fight against Gerber, the fight against Parler, and even the first round against Tyson Fury where he was badly rocked, these are causes of concern for Derek Chisora. I don't know whether Derek Chisora is a top level fighter anymore. Does he have the ambition to be a top level fighter anymore? And is he still training with Don Charles? What's happening there as well? So there's a lot of things Del Boy has to get over. Obviously, we give him all the credit in the world for coming back against Ustinov. He's a big heavyweight, and he can punch. So it's an interesting fight. It'll be an exciting fight, and I can guarantee you both guys are going to be going back and forth, and there'll be no punches held back. It will be a war. So, you know, it will be an absolute war, and you know, an absolute war. So has anybody got any thoughts about Chisora's comeback against Ustinov? I mean, Aaron, let me ask you a question. You're a Muslim, right? Isn't this a time of Ramadan? If this is Ramadan for you, you're not conducting yourself like a Muslim, which is truly a believer. So if you want to sit on here and keep throwing insults all the time, and you want to use the name Allah, and you want to start talking about religion, I'd look a little closer to home. This is Ramadan time, and I think you should respect Ramadan, and I think you should have a bit more respect, you know. But there you go. So, Sarah, have you, Sarah, Stuart, Mr. Godwin, have you guys got anything to say? He'll probably take Usmanov, but I think his drive to world scene is gone. Can't see him beating anyone on a level above Usmanov. I'd be surprised if he does beat Usmanov. I really will. Usmanov is also bringing into sparring with him Sherman the Tank Williams. If anyone knows who Sherman the Tank Williams, if I'm right, he was the last guy Evander Holyfield fought, and he was beating Evander Holyfield. And in my opinion, he was beating Evander, and they stopped the fight prematurely because of some cut or something. Yeah, I have no respect for you. You have no respect for anybody. You have no respect for anybody, and that's a problem. And he ain't no Muslim. I would even be surprised if that was even his name. But anyway, he's been blocked from my channel. I don't know why he's still popping up on my channel, but he's been blocked, so I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about Derek's punch resistance. He's had tough fights with Vitali and David Haye. I don't know if this is the same man now. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, I'm ignoring him. I'm not paying him any mind now. I'm moving on. Sarah, I don't know much about you. Can you tell me a little bit more about you? And you know, you're involved in boxing. We're really interested to know what you do. Obviously, you are a boxing fan. You know, you're involved in boxing. I don't know how, to what degree. So if you can let me know a bit more about you, it'd be great. Yeah, Derek Chisora's resistance, punch resistance. I don't think he's the same fighter anymore. Paul Smith, he does cop a lot of abuse. I don't know. I really don't know. Me and you in a fight, come to Bradford. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever boxed before, Aaron? You're in your 40s. Oh, good. That's good. It's great. 2 kids. Great. Fantastic. My wife's in her 40s too. Late 40s. Been a boxing fan for a while. Excellent stuff, Sarah. Excellent stuff. So who's your favorite fighters? Mate, Aaron, you're a nobody. Who are you? I don't know who you are. Who are you? I've been watching your videos for a while too. This is the first time I've caught you live though. I mean, I really enjoy stuff. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Come to Bradford. Who in there, Mike Ryan, would go to, oh dear. Oh dear me. Dear me. I have boxing lessons, Southpaw. You're a Southpaw, right? Right. Good, great. Tyson Fury is your favorite fighter. Yeah, Tyson Fury is one hell of an interesting individual. Interviews with him, I always have to prepare for, because when you do a Tyson Fury interview, and you allow Tyson Fury to be the man that he is, they're like a roller coaster. Start off very quiet and very calm at first, and then you just take off. Yeah, GGG is a favorite. Now let's talk about GGG a second. I think GGG is very much. I can't get into GGG. I can't, because I'm not. I think there's more hype around this guy than substance. I want to see him fight. He's got to have that key fight. He's got to have that fight where he's fighting a guy that's really come to knock his block off, and he hasn't fought anybody like that yet. And until he fights somebody who really wants to come knock his block off, I'm not buying into the hype about him. See, Kovalev's a little different, because at least Kovalev fought Jean Pascal. You know, Pascal came. He came to give it a go, and Kovalev gave him what for. So Kovalev, I have more. I'd lean a lot more towards Kovalev than I do to GGG, who wants to fight guys. Oh, here's some information. Here's some information here for you boxing fans. Would you believe? Here's some nice news for you. Would you believe that Chris Eubank Jr. and Chris Eubank Sr. turned down £1 million to fight Billy Joe Saunders, who's now going to fight Andy Lee in Ireland. But that's not the interesting bit. The interesting bit that Eubank Jr. fights, who has the WBA title, the interim title, that is. Now, as an interim champion, you have the choice to fight either the super champion or the regular champion. The regular champion, I believe, is Danny Jacobs, and the super champion is GGG. Now, yeah, I did that interview with Sanchez, Abel Sanchez, where it said that GGG ruins Kovalev in sparring. Yeah, that's true. I heard that. I did the interview with him about that. So where I was like, yeah, I can't even remember what I was saying. What was I saying? What I'm talking about. Yes. So Chris Eubank Sr. has been pushing for a November fight with Gennady Golovkin. They don't want Danny Jacobs. They want to fight Gennady Golovkin in November. That's the talk of the town. Believe it. Eubank Sr. wants his son to fight GGG in November. Didn't want to fight Billy Joe Saunders in a rematch. Instead, he wants to fight GGG. What about that? I think that's interesting news in the boxing world. Absolutely interesting news. Ciao. It's a damn fool. Not like anyone paid him any mind anyway. So yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this. GGG fighting Chris Eubank Jr. I personally think that his father is badly managing him. Really is. I mean, you lose to Billy Joe Saunders, right? In a fight that I blame Chris Eubank Sr. for his son losing that fight. And I'll tell you why I blame Chris Eubank Sr. Because he was, instead of his son focusing on a trainer, a boxing trainer, Eubank was in a corner dressed like a, I don't know, pimp, you know, dressed in a manner which was not according to a boxing trainer. And oh, he's back. He's back again. Eubank Senior was in the corner giving Eubank instructions. Instead, he had two other boxing trainers in the corner. And I just think that had Eubank done the right thing and been out of that ring and allowed Ronnie Davis and the other trainer to have spoken to Chris in that fight, we may have seen a different fight and possibly a different outcome. Sarah Lake says Eubank will go into the ring, shit himself. He can't act big with that stern face. He can't act big with a stern face, but inside he will be scared. Yeah, he will do. Sarah talked to Kovalev trainer quite a bit, and it's not like the story. And it was not like the story being told. Yeah, I know. I did the interview. I spoke to Abel Sanchez a while back, and when I spoke to him, he said that he spoke about the thing about Kovalev. So when you get a chance, check out the interview. Yeah, Kovalev and GG would be a great fight to see. One at catch weight, I wouldn't mind. It'd be an interesting fight, I think, definitely. Where's HB? Hi, how you doing? Eubank Jr. should be better than someone that trained a lot in the US. Eubank Jr. does not have much heart. That's why it took so long to get decent opponents. Interesting. Yeah, I think Kovalev would beat GGG. It's too strong. I do believe that. I do believe that. So I think that's all I really could talk. Oh, and Dam versus Lemieux. Now that's a fight I would love to see. Nadam, Lemieux versus GGG. That's a fight. That would be the fight for me. If GGG can fight Lemieux and beat Lemieux, that would be the fight where I would say, you know what, I can start to believe this man, because Lemieux has got knockout power. Thoughts on Buglioni versus Chudinov? Now, I met Frank Buglioni at the at the Tyson Fury Derek Shaw press conference in London for the first time, and I'm a big fan of Frank. You know, from same part of London as myself, North London, and I had a chat with him. I said to him, "Look, mate, I unfortunately predicted that you would get stopped by Kuzmanovic because you're way too open. Your defenses come down within about 2-3 rounds, and you're just focused on being a puncher." And since then, he's moved with Collins in Dublin, where I'm now in Ireland, which is where I live now. And I was expecting to see Frank Buglioni put in a really good fight against there's a guy he fought the other day. Lee Markham. I was expecting Buglioni to put him away. Instead, he was in an all-out war in something that was a domestic fight. I expected Buglioni to be a few leagues above Lee Markham. Now, it's either Lee Markham is a few leagues above, or Frank Buglioni is slightly overrated. I don't know. I like Frank, but against Chudinov, you know, I think it's a good fight. I live in Ireland, and if you want to fancy coming over to Ireland, feel free. I've got a few friends of mine that won't mind knocking some sense into you, so feel free to come over to Ireland. Take your top off. Frank Warren's a butt. I think I don't know. I think Frank Buglioni, he's got a puncher's chance. He literally has got a puncher's chance. I'd love to see. I'd love to see him fight. I'd like to see how he fights abroad. He's got a puncher's chance. He really has. I haven't seen much of Chudinov Senior, the other brother, but I don't know. He's obviously beaten Sturm, so he's a decent fighter. But Sturm, is it Sturm he beat for the title? Was it Burst? Doesn't it Sturm he beat for the title? Frank's a good domestic fighter, but that's as far as it goes. Yeah, I think so. Marcus Music, how are we doing? Brooklyn only has no chance against Chudinov. Yeah, he's got a puncher's chance. He's got a puncher's chance. I used to live in the West Indies, and I live in Ireland. Billy Joe Saunders versus Andy Lee. Wow. Another guy I've done a few interviews with, and a guy I like, Billy Joe Saunders. Called the old Irish affair. It's a real tough one, that one. I think it's a really good fight. And I tell you why it's a good fight. I think tactical. There are question marks about Billy Joe Saunders. Yes, he's done everything that's been asked of him at British level and the European level as well. I think his big test comes against Andy Lee, who a lot of people forget Andy Lee was trained with Emmanuel Stewart and been in the Kronk gym. And that gained a lot of experience. I think that Andy Lee is actually coming into his own now. He's fought John Jackson, good performance. He fought the guy, I can't remember the guy was to win the world title, good performance. And then he's now fighting Peter Quellin, dropped Quellin. And now he's fighting Billy Joe Saunders. I think this is a very interesting fight. I don't subscribe to Billy Joe Saunders running rings around Andy Lee, Sarah. Sorry, I can't. I can't. I like Billy Joe Saunders. It's going to be in Limerick. No, it's in Limerick. The fight is in Limerick. I can confirm that for you. The fight is in Limerick. It's in Ireland. I can't subscribe, Sarah, to Billy Joe Saunders running rings around Andy Lee. And here's my point. Andy Lee, 6'1", long range, big puncher. I mean, big world-class puncher. You know, dropping the likes of Quillen, John Jackson, and those. You talk about guys who can punch now. And my concern is this: Billy Joe Saunders is not a world-class puncher. He's a domestic puncher, but he's not a world-class puncher. And the one thing you need against Andy Lee, you know, and one of the things that Andy Lee sort of like struggles with is punches. And I think that Andy Lee starts the favorite in this fight. If you look at opposition, this is the best fight on paper that Billy Joe Saunders is going to fight, I think, personally. You know, you look at Andy Lee, he's fought at world level. He's been around the top for a while. You know, this is Billy Joe Saunders' first real step into world class. You know, and question marks. All the training Billy Joe Saunders has been doing, down the stretch, Saunders does tend to tire. And he tired against Chris Eubank Jr. and was getting rocked by Chris Eubank Jr. You ask yourself the question, down the stretch, if it becomes a hard and grueling fight, I don't back Saunders' stamina. And I don't think Saunders hits that hard to keep Andy Lee nailed to a canvas. I think Andy Lee is a real threat in this fight. He's a real threat. And I like Billy Joe Saunders. I like both guys. But if you're going to ask me who the favorite going into this fight is, it's got to be Andy Lee. He's fought at the higher level. You know, I'm not saying Billy Joe Saunders can't beat him. I'm not saying Billy Joe Saunders hasn't got the boxing ability, because I think Billy Joe Saunders is a better boxer than Andy Lee. But punch power, damn. I mean, I could see Billy Joe Saunders being ahead on the fight and getting clipped by Andy Lee. But Billy Joe Saunders, you know, the best of him, you could say, is yet to come. He's an unbeaten fighter. We don't know how he'll fight against Andy Lee. And boxing skill alone, on boxing skill, I think that Billy Joe Saunders is by far a better boxer than Andy Lee. But in terms of one-punch knockout power and can turn a fight around right into the last round, Andy Lee. And doing it against better opposition, Andy Lee. You're going, how are you doing, sports media? You're going for Billy Joe Saunders. Man, listen, Billy Joe Saunders is a quality operator. I'm not saying he's not a quality operator. And I thought he stood a very good chance against Peter Quillen, who I think is pretty overrated. But it's that power factor. And what I saw against Chris Eubank Jr., you know, Billy Joe Saunders is going to have to box the perfect fight against Andy Lee. He can't afford to let his heart rule his head in the fight. He's got to box. If he boxes, you know, I think he's a better boxer. But if he tries to fight with Lee, I think he'll come unstuck. So that's my thoughts on that fight. You know, oh, hello, Michael. How are we doing? That's all right. No problems. You can watch the beginning of the video again to see what's going on. Yeah, busy. I can understand. Totally. Have to go now, guys. Thanks so much this afternoon. IJ, great insight and great view. Mr. Godwin, take care. All the best, and thanks for the support. Appreciated. Oh, Mark News says, good dude. Just listening in, doing some bets online. Ireland, a lovely place. I used to live and work in Ballysmont and Kilmarnie. Beautiful place, country, yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I live on the west coast of Ireland. It's beautiful. Very beautiful part of Ireland. Did spend some time in Dublin, but I've got to say this part of Ireland is very beautiful. I hate missing live. I know, I understand, but more power to you. You're hearing now, so you can talk. We've spoken about Broner and Porter. I've basically said that I think that Broner has a good. Broner's got to win the fight. I think Broner wins the fight late on, and Porter early because of being weight drained. I think Paul Smith versus Andre Ward. I think Smith is going to come in pretty sluggish. The reflexes and things will be an issue, I think, for him, because you're fighting at heavier weight. So then you will be sluggish if you've not fought the weight before, and you're going to be against a guy who's better boxer than yourself, probably stronger than you. And I think Smith is just going to come with a lot of passion and try and take it to Andre Ward. But I think that he basically walks into a lot of shots and will win the fight in impressive style and stop Smith. Nadam and Lemieux. Lemieux is I love Lemieux. I really do. I think he's an awesome puncher. But at the end of the day, I think see, there's question marks about the only thing about Lemieux is his heart and his chin. His question marks. He's got huge question marks about his chin, Lemieux, and he could get knocked out in this fight. But for sheer punch power and excitement, I'm going for Lemieux for this fight. You know, Paul McGrath, Irish player. Clinton Morrison, Ireland. Same as Maypac, free money in that also. So I won't pay any attention to Aaron. I wouldn't pay. Don't give him any energy. I'm not giving him any energy either. So yeah, I'm a Broner to make Warder. 33-1 is free. Yeah, I think it is pretty free money. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think I've covered all the topics I wanted to cover. Lemieux by KO, but you know, yeah, I think I've covered all the topics. I think I've covered all the topics. So, is there any other topics I'd like to talk about in boxing before I leave, guys and girls? He does. He does need attention. It's all right. Pay no mind. Anything else? No. Okay. Well, look forward to the fight tonight. Can Paul Smith make history? I did say that if Paul Smith won this fight, it'll be he'd be Joshua versus Price. No, Joshua versus Vac, September the 12th. That's what's going to be happening. September the 12th, Joshua versus Vac. I will be trying to talk to yeah, he does need a hug, bless him. I'll be trying to talk to Joshua's promoter, not Joshua, Wax promoter, to find out what deal is with this, but it's definitely out there. So yeah. Okay, I think I've covered a lot of topics. I wasn't meant to go as long as this because this was just meant to be a prediction video. That's why I did it live. You think it's BS? Well, okay, fine. Well, his promoter put it out yesterday, and it's from their Twitter feed, so it's their company as well. So it's from their promotional company. So I believe the fight is going to happen. It's been tweeted from their actual promotional company, and I'm actually going to be talking to the promoter who set it all up. I don't think they're going to put stuff out like that. So I believe the fight is on. So I hope it's not pay-per-view. I also heard that Brandon Rios is next in line. Oh my gosh. I have got something else to talk about. I get this really... I don't think that Mayweather will fight Khan. He could do. but I think it's more likely to fight someone like Andre Berto. He's talking a lot about Andre Berto and how Andre Berto looks good and Andre Berto this and Andre Berto that. The other guy that Mayweather's been talking about, by the way, is Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya was offered to fight Mayweather in his final fight in September. And De La Hoya's response, although De La Hoya is saying he'd like to fight GGG, De La Hoya's response to Mayweather was he's quite happy, he's retired, he'll never come back. And when he should have taken the fight, when they fought in May, he should have taken the rematch in September, which Mayweather didn't take. So that's his response to De La Hoya's response to Mayweather, as De La Hoya was offered the fight to fight Mayweather in September. So yeah, so Berto could well possibly be the opponent in September. Mayweather's saying things like he's finished or he's almost done, and he's looking at Berto as his last opponent. So I guess why not fight Berto? The only guy, top level guy. He hasn't one of the top level guys he hasn't fought. I don't see GGG being a fight that's going to happen. And yeah, glad you enjoyed the Tyson Fury interview. Glad you enjoyed the Tony Bellew interview. Glad you enjoyed the Hugh Fury interview. And check out Charlene Jones, that interview with the Welsh Dragon, the amateur, who's fighting international amateur boxer who's trying to get to Rio. Check out that interview as well. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, I'm sure he is, but I'm not sure. I know Manuel Marquez was one of the other fighters that was being considered, because Marquez recently had a fight. But I don't know about Marquez again. Who wants to see Marquez again? Okay, that is it. That's your lot. I'm off. No, Canelo 2 is not going to happen because you got Canelo versus Cotto coming up. So I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, guys and girls, I am out of here. It's been a while. Take care and thanks for the support. I'm out. Take care.